Hey everybody, it's Brad, and I want to show you some other cool stuff that you can do with the specialty fill. Um, I experimented around and messed around with the software for a while, and I found something pretty neat that I think I'm going to work into a full-on class. Basically, what you can do is not just use those patterns, those 8 patterns that are built in. You can use any shape, and there's just a couple of steps that you have to do to get it to work. And I originally thought that this wouldn't work because I was missing some of those steps, and I'm going to share them with you. So instead of just combining the patterns also with a simple shape, we can combine them with lots of things, like for instance lettering. So if we use a TrueType font from our computer, we can actually combine those fill patterns with that TrueType font and make a really interesting kind of design, and that's what we're going to do. So specifically, I just watched the show Game of Thrones, and so I'm in a Game of Thrones mood, so I'm going to create a Game of Thrones t-shirt, or just design in general. Game of Thrones design, and I want to use a font that looks kind of Game of Thronesy. So to get this font, if you're not in my class, if you're in my class, you're going to have the font on a CD. But if you're not in my class, then you're going to open up a web browser and go to the website dafont, dafont.com. And I want you to go to the search bar here and search for a font called First Order. First Order. Okay, this is the font right here. And this is actually the exact font that they use on the map. If you're a Game of Thrones fan, anyway. If not, just ignore this little bit of trivia here. It's the exact font that they use on the map when they name the cities, Winterfell and Marine and King's Landing, etc., etc. in the TV show. This is the actual font that they use. So it's kind of a neat thing to be able to have that exact font. So to get it, you're just going to download it. Left click on download. Tell it to open and say OK. Once it opens, I want you to open up first. Which one was it? Do first V2. Double click on that. Okay, and then just left click on install. Okay, that's it. Close it, and we're going to go back to Masterworks. So now that we're back in Masterworks, we're actually not going to write the letters just yet. We're going to create the pattern first, and then we're going to write the letters out. So we're not going to use that font just yet. What we're going to do first is we're going to go into our artwork, and we're going to choose custom shape. Now, we could do the same thing if we drew our own design, but we're not going to draw our own design. We're going to use one of these built-in custom shapes. But if you wanted to draw your own, it works the exact same way. And what I'm going to pick is actually a snowflake. Okay, so the slogan that I want to do is "Winter is coming," which is the Stark family slogan. And since they're from the frozen north, we're going to have winter is coming, and we're going to have snowflakes as our motif. Kind of weird because we're coming up on summer, but whatever. So we bring in our snowflake. I'm going to resize this down, and I want to make this fairly small. I'm going to make each one of these maybe about a ½ an inch or so. It doesn't have to be exact. You can just kind of wing it. And then we're going to take our design. Make sure that your design is selected, your little snowflake. You're going to go to Tools, and you're going to go to Arrange. And what we're going to do here is we're going to change the number across. We're just going to click up here and increase this value. I want to have a ton of these. I want to have more than I need. So I'll do like 20 across. We'll do 20 down, so we have a nice big square to work with. And if we wanted to, we could make it so that they are flipped horizontally, although these things are symmetrical, so that wouldn't make any difference. But if you had a design that wasn't symmetrical, you could have them flip or offset, make an interesting pattern for yourself if you wanted to. We could also change the horizontal and vertical distance. If we want them to be overlapped a little bit, we can kind of force them to overlap, which can create an interesting effect. I'll just mess with it just a little tiny bit. And when you're satisfied, you just say OK. So now what we have, I'm just going to left click and drag it in, what we have is a whole bunch of snowflakes all together and creating this pattern. And what we want to do is we want to take this whole thing that we just made, and we want to right click and choose Combine. And the reason we want to do that is because just arranging them doesn't create one big design. And what would happen is if I tried to move these, it would only move one at a time, and we want to have them all connected. Okay, so now we need to bring in our letters. So we're going to go up to the Home tab, and we're going to choose Artwork. We're going to choose Import TTF Artwork, and here's where you're going to be able to find the font that we just installed. It's going to be, what was it called? It was called First Order, that's right. And actually, if you know the name of the font that you're looking for, you can just start typing it in right here on this prompt and see how First Order has come up. So First Order, we say OK, and now we want it to say winter is coming. And I actually had just done this earlier, so it still remembered that I had that typed in. But yours is going to say my text. You're going to change it to say winter is coming, and click OK. All right, so we've got winter is coming. All right, so now I want to take these and I'm going to move them away from my block of snowflakes for the time being, and I'm also going to change their color before I do anything else. And the reason for that is it just makes it easier to work with the two separate groups of things if they're different colors. So we're going to make this white. It doesn't matter what color, you can make it whatever color you want. And I want to rearrange them slightly. I want it to say winter is coming. So when you are working with a true type font that you bring in this manner, it doesn't group them. Okay, so again, just like these would have, see how I can move each letter individually? I'll just undo that. So we're going to move the is by selecting it, drag a box around the whole thing and let go. It'll put a little selection box around the whole thing, just like that. And then we're going to do the same thing with coming. We'll put that down here. Okay, and then we're going to select the whole thing, all of my design here, and then we need to combine this one as well. I'm going to right click. We're going to combine. That was the thing that I was missing. I didn't realize you had to do that in order for this to work. But I figured it out after messing around with it for a while. Alright, so we're going to take winter is coming and we're going to make it as big as we can here. Actually, you know what? I'm just going to fit it to my hoop here as much as I can. So I want this to be nice and big, this design. And that means I'm actually going to have to take my, my block of snowflakes and make them a little bit bigger. But that's okay. We'll just scale them up so that they fit. Just like that, and we're going to lay them so that they're on top of my design. Okay, now the order has to be the pattern and then the lettering, or it's not going to work. But we take the pattern and the lettering, we're going to select them both. You can actually just click on all items to do that if you want to. That'll select both, or you can left click on one, hold down Control, and click on the other. They both work. And then you're going to right click, you're going to choose Specialty Fill, and then you wait. Just waiting for it to do its thing. Sometimes it takes a little bit of time for the computer to do something complex like this. Okay, so now it's done. But why can't we see our things? It's because our lettering actually is filled in with color. So if we click on our lettering, I should have had you do this earlier, and we click on this little check mark for fill and hit apply, we can actually see that our snowflakes are indeed inside of our letters. So that's pretty neat. I probably should have made my snowflakes a little bit smaller, because if you look, you can see that there's a lot of gaps in there. And if I'd have left them at their original size, they'd be much smaller and easier to tell that they're snowflakes. But so say we want to turn this into actual embroidery. Right now it's not embroidery. We'll select our filled in part, which is the blue, and we're going to go to Apply Stitches and choose Run. That should be a running stitch. There's really not anything else that's going to work for that. So we put the Run stitch in there for that, and you can see that we've actually created quite a few jumps in doing that. Unfortunately, short of digitizing this manually, there's not really a whole lot that can be done to avoid creating a bunch of jumps. If you've got a machine that cuts them automatically, it's not going to be an issue. If you're working with one of the more beginner machines that doesn't have the ability to cut the jump stitches for you, you may want to just hold off on this technique. But anyway, so now we also want to be able to turn the outline into a satin stitch. So we go down to our outline of our letters, and what we need to do is actually uncombine these. We'll right click and we choose break apart, and what that's going to do is it makes it so anything with a hole in it in here, like this O, actually the O is the only thing with a hole in it. Oh, the R actually has a hole in it too. If we didn't do that, those would get messed up when we do this next step, which is to select them, go to Apply Stitches and choose Satin. Okay, so we can change the width of this satin stitch if we want to. I would probably set this to about 1.5, make it a little more subtle. But now we can see that we've got our designs filled in with this cool running stitch pattern, and you can use any of those patterns that are built into if you want to do that too. Yeah, I think that's a pretty neat little technique. Incidentally, that'll work with any shape, but not just lettering, of course. You can use any of the custom shapes as the outer part that gets filled in by the pattern, and you can make your own patterns by drawing them too, just like I said at the beginning. So that's the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.